exactly what I think Jesse Minter is really doing with this Ravens coaching staff. This and so much more on this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Stay tuned and like the video, please. So, yes, like I said, we are back with yet another episode of Quiet Storm Sports. I don't even know what number episode this is. I don't number this series. I just kind of do them, right? But again, shout out to all y'all for watching right now. If you're in the live chat, shout out to you. Make sure you sound off in the live chat because we always do these live. And if you're part of the hashtag replay gang, which means you're not watching live, be sure to like this video and comment down below what you think is really going on with this Ravens coaching staff right now, because I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts that I want to share with you guys on this episode of the show. Um, Ravens are making some moves. Ravens are making some really big moves, and I cannot any longer doubt what Jesse Minter's got going on. And I know I'm going to start this episode by saying this. In recent days, I've been very critical of the Ravens' offensive coaching hire choices. One being mainly Declan Doyle. And, I've done a little bit more digging and I've been trying to like rack my brain and convince myself that this is the right hire. And guys, I think I've finally done it. I think I finally done it. But it wasn't just off of the merit of one Declan Doyle after I kind of dug deeper on him, but it has more so to do with the checks and balances that seem to be being installed on this Ravens coaching staff right now. Now, what do I mean by checks and balances, right? What do I mean by that? What I mean by checks and balances is that it seems like for every risky hire, right, it's going checked and being balanced by a safe hire. And I think that that creates the perfect storm, the perfect mix between risk and safety to come together to bring something, to build something beautiful this season. I cannot wait to see it. Obviously, we have 8 more months of no football. Super Bowl is this week. After that, it'll be bittersweet for, 7, 8 months because we won't have anything to look at. But with the way that this Ravens coaching staff is coming together right now, I am super excited to see what happens come September 2026. Before we get into any of it, though, before we dive into it, let me bring up who's here in the live chat as we normally would. Again, if you're part of the hashtag replay gang, comment down below right now and put a hashtag replay gang in the chat. We love to see that. King Blaze is in the house. What's going on, King Blaze? Appreciate you for pulling up. We got Zeke Kokage in the house. What's up, Zeke? We got one of our members here, Void. What's up, Void? Member in the house. Member in the house. Let me see. We also have Lisa. What's up, Lisa? And then we have Glaucoma as well. Says, what's going on, Glaucoma? Yeah, make sure y'all sound off in the chat as y'all trickle on in here. Again, appreciate y'all. It is a beautiful Tuesday evening, February 3rd. Weather was pretty nice today for the most part. Can't complain, can't complain. But as the day went on, I kept getting these notifications to my phone saying that the Ravens had hired this guy and the Ravens had hired that guy. And I want to get into it, guys. I want to get into it. But one more thing before we dive deep into it. Remember, guys, we're doing the jersey giveaway, the Lamar Jackson jersey giveaway. That's right. If you are new here to the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, we are currently running a jersey giveaway, which we will announce the winner for on Thursday. This Thursday on the Purple Rain Podcast at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to automatically be joined in the running to win this free Lamar Jackson jersey, color of your choosing, right? All you got to do is become a channel member of the Rain Gang. And if you're watching on YouTube, that's super easy. It's right underneath the video here. Down below me, somewhere near the description, you hit the little join button. You join the channel membership. It's $4.99 a month. $4.99 a month. You get access to exclusive content. You also get badges in our chat as well. And also you get in the running for some of these giveaways. And we plan on doing more giveaways coming soon in the future. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and make sure you join the official Rain Gang membership and you will automatically be entered for a chance to win that free Lamar Jackson jersey. Again, color of your choosing. The Pro Bowls today, I totally forgot about that. Totally forgot about the Pro Bowl, right? I just don't care. Quite simply, quite frankly, I just don't care about the Pro Bowl. I don't think anybody does. I don't care how many Ravens are there right now and about to play flag football or pin the tail on the donkey, whatever they do at the Pro Bowl in the big 2026. I couldn't give a damn or less of a damn. It's 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 in shambles right now. All recreational, you know, and like fanfare, events for some of these major leagues have just gone by the wayside. I mean, you talk about All-Star Weekend, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. Who cares about that? Nobody even wants to do the dunk contest, talking about the NBA. Obviously, the Pro Bowl, nobody gives a damn about the Pro Bowl. I mean, you got guys like Justin Fields turning down the Pro Bowl. You got all sorts of guys turning down the Pro Bowl. When that used to be a coveted spot, that used to be a coveted kind of role to take up. It used to be a coveted selection, but no longer is it that. I think that the most, I think, kind of, compelling all-star weekend, all-star game, whatever you want to call it, is Major League Baseball right now with the home run derby. And that is sad. That is incredibly sad. But okay, on to these Ravens. On to these Ravens, right? Ravens made a couple of hires today, and I'm very excited about them. But before we get to the hires, I want to bring up something here about Declan Doyle that I find important. I think it's going to be a perfect preface for when we talk about the Ravens' new senior offensive assistant. I'm going to get into that in a second. Again, checks and balances everywhere. But I saw a little tidbit from here from Cole Kmet, right? Bears tight end. And he talks about Declan Doyle and what his role was with the Bears. Let's take a listen.
Obviously a big loss for us losing Declan, EB, two great coaches and guys that provide a lot of value to the offensive side of the ball this year. And I know even though Declan doesn't call the plays for us, the amount of work that he did on the offensive side of the football was immense, and you could see that in day to day in practices. And I'm sure it took a lot off of Ben throughout the week for his duties as a head coach.
Cole, if you could just humor us and kind of walk us through that, because I know at the beginning of the season, Ben Johnson explained how from an organizational role, that was going to be so important. Declan's role, even though, as you said, he doesn't call plays, but so that Ben Johnson could do, head coaching duties, and because he wasn't an offensive coordinator anymore, but he still remained the play caller. What was Declan Doyle's role as you got through the season? What would you say his day-to-day was like?
Yeah, well, I mean, that'd almost be hard for me to even say just because I'm not there in those meetings once we leave the building. But you can tell with things in terms of getting the scout team correct, getting all those cards ready, dialed up, ready to go. Whether it's scripting the practice, I'm sure Declan had a huge say as to what plays we're going to have up and what looks we were going to get throughout the week of practice. And then, on Fridays and Saturdays, when we'd go over our film from Fridays on Saturday morning, Declan's the guy going over that tape with the whole skill group and then kind of leading us in the walkthrough on Saturday before our main mini walkthrough as before we get to the hotel. So yeah, Declan was very hands on with all of us, and that is a big role. And I know I understand and I somewhat understand what people on the outside and they say, oh, if you're not calling plays, like really, what are you doing? These guys do a lot of stuff in terms of prepping for the game plan and getting us ready to go for practice throughout the week. That really shows up big time up on Sunday. And then, I mean, another thing Declan was great at is, I'm sure Ben, as the head coach, there's a lot of things you got to handle in halftime. Declan's the one addressing the offense at halftime, kind of going over the openers that are going to be coming up in the second half and telling us what we need to do, what they're seeing, and how we can make adjustments.
Yeah, see. So you heard it there first, folks, from Cole Kmet talking about the things that Declan Doyle does do. A couple things I took from that, guys, is number one, super hands-on guy. And this is something that we already knew, right? This is a guy who's making sure the scout team is ready. This is a guy who's going through the walkthroughs with the guys. He's very hands-on with the players. Love to hear that. But most importantly, what I took from that is the fact that this guy makes second half adjustments like no other, seemingly. Cole Kmet said there he's the one coaching us up at halftime and getting us ready to go back out there. And there's some analytics to back this up, guys. There's some stats, some real deal stats to back up what he's saying there. Take a look. Take a listen to this. So in this past season, right, the Chicago Bears, which Declan Doyle was the offensive coordinator for, their first half offense was 20th in EPA per play, but their second half and overtime offense was second in EPA per play. What does this mean? This means that, and this is what I largely kind of saw when I was watching Bears games this past season. Early in the game, they had some things going. They had their first 10 to 15 scripted plays. They seemed to be working. Caleb Williams seemed to be a little bit comfortable. But then it kind of went off the rails a little bit, right? And second half of the first quarter and the second quarter, they kind of started to kind of dip in production. But then something happened that never happened under the John Harbaugh regime. The Bears made second half adjustments, and they came out kicking ass in the second half. And that's something that makes me very, very excited. Again, I know I've been super critical of Declan Doyle, but that's something that makes me very, very excited for this upcoming season, because if you're making those type of second half adjustments with the likes of, again, Caleb Williams, who, again, no slight to him, Swift and Monungai, which no slight to them, those are awesome running backs, then what can you do? I can only imagine what you can draw up with the likes of Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Andrews, likely if we re-sign him, which we should since the cap is going up. All those guys, all those tools in the toolbox that Declan Doyle will be inheriting. Now, I didn't come here to talk about Declan Doyle today. Okay, I did not come here to talk about Declan Doyle. I came here to talk about the Ravens' newest hire, which is going to be Joe Lombardi. The Ravens have hired Joe Lombardi to be their senior offensive assistant. He's an offensive coach with them. When I got this news, I was like, okay, I got to look into him a little bit more. I know Lombardi is a staple name in the NFL. And by the way, Joe Lombardi is Vince Lombardi's grandson. All right, so football runs in his blood. He's been in and around football since the mid 90s. And I have this article up here to kind of go through and show you guys some of the history of Joe Lombardi, where he's coming from most recently, who he's worked with, things like that. So I'm going to go through and read this article with you guys here. This is off the Ravens website. It says the Ravens are adding veteran coach and former offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi as a senior offensive assistant. As a former offensive coordinator and play caller, Joe Lombardi, who is 54 years old, would bring valuable experience and perspective to 29-year-old Declan Doyle's staff. Pause right there. This is what I love the most about this move. You guys see the thumbnail in the video. It says checks and balances. My biggest gripe with bringing in a Declan Doyle was simply that he's 29 years old, right? He's never called plays before. He's only spent 1 year as an offensive coordinator underneath Ben Johnson, who called the plays in Chicago, right? So I was concerned that we were going to entrust the entire offense to this kid who, yes, he's a very bright mind, very intelligent, very sharp. I'm sure he's awesome, when it comes to the X's and O's, things like that. However, I was concerned that in, really, really big spots where, hey, he's got the entire offense under his command, I was concerned that there will be times where the moment will be a little bit too big for him. The lights will be a little bit too bright for him. I was concerned about that. He hasn't seen everything that that a defense can throw at him yet, especially not as a coordinator, especially not as a play calling coordinator. It's a totally different ball game, guys. So bringing in a 54-year-old Joe Lombardi, who again has been there, he's done that. He's got a Super Bowl ring with Sean Payton in 2009 with the Saints, right? He's known for developing quarterbacks. It's quite simply what he's known for. Drew Brees, a guy he's developed, right? I am very excited to see that we're bringing in these guys who, again, provide these checks and balances. You got a young guy calling the plays. You got an older guy who's been around for life. He's backing them up. Let's keep going, though. Doyle and Lombardi actually worked together twice before, including 2 seasons with the Denver Broncos in 23 and 24, and 2 years with the Saints in 2019 and 2020. Lombardi most recently served as the Denver Broncos offensive coordinator for the past 3 seasons, but he was let go by Sean Payton after Denver fell short in the AFC Championship game with backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham. In that game, Sean Payton called the Broncos offensive plays. Previous to that, Joe Lombardi spent 2 seasons as the LA Chargers offensive coordinator in 21 and 22, working with quarterback Justin Herbert, and 2 seasons as the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator as in 2014 and 2015. So this guy has been around. He's been around the league. multiple stints as offensive coordinators as offensive coordinator in multiple cities. So he's going to be coming here and providing perspective, providing wisdom, and he's going to be able to call back to all of these situations and scenarios from preseason games to regular season games to playoff games to Super Bowls where he's been involved in making some decisions. And that gives me comfort, knowing that there is a 20-something-year-old guy. I don't want to call him a kid anymore, but Declan Doyle is a 20-something-year-old guy who's taking on the biggest job of his life right now. And I love the fact that we have a senior assistant who's going to be there backing him up. Now, I will say this really quick. I know a lot of you guys don't like my point about having the offensive coaches or having coaches on the field. Some of you guys do like that point. Some of you guys don't like that point. I want my coaches on the field, my coordinators on the field, right? I need live, in real time feedback from players to coordinators in the moment. That's what I would prefer. That's just me personally, right? Now, Joe Lombardi, he can sit up in that box. I'd actually prefer Joe Lombardi sitting up in that box. And if Joe Lombardi needs to communicate with Declan Doyle, who's going to be on the field, hopefully, right? He can do so through phone. But the offensive coordinator himself, I would love for him to be on the field and collaborating with the players in real time, not over the phone. My guy Zach from the Charm City Sideline podcast put it perfectly last week when I was watching his show. Go subscribe to the Charm City Sideline pod. They do a great job over there, and they will be on PRP very, very soon. Mark my words. But he said that, when you have a coach up in the box as opposed to having a coach on the field, right? It's like talking to your friend over the phone as opposed to hanging out with them in person. It's way more personable when you're right there face to face, right? And you can assess all sorts of things. You can assess body language, you can assess emotions, you can assess tone of voice, you can assess everything. In real time. I think that is of paramount importance for a coach to be able to do, especially an offensive coordinator who's going to be very hands-on, like they say Declan Doyle is. Right? So that's just my biggest thing with this whole having the coach on the field, having the coaches in the box. Joe Lombardi, you can sit up there in the box. But Declan Doyle, I need you down here with the team. But let's continue. Let me see. Sandwiched between his years. Let me see. Where did I go? Okay, so sandwiched between were 5 years as the New Orleans Saints quarterback coach under Sean Payton. Both Lombardi and Doyle have spent several years learning from Payton, who is regarded as one of the league's top offensive minds. Lombardi is the grandson, of course, to Pro Football Hall of Fame coach Vince Lombardi. Now he will try to help get the Ravens back to the Super Bowl and hoist their third Lombardi trophy. How cool would it be for the Ravens to win a Super Bowl and Joe Lombardi gets to host the trophy that has his last name attached to it? That would be cinema, to say the least. So hopefully Joe Lombardi can come in here and he can actually provide, again, some perspective and just a different point of view for this younger Ravens offensive coaching staff. Again, checks and balances is the theme of this episode, guys. It's checks and balances. We're not just going to throw a 29-year-old kid to the wolves and be like, hey, look, the entire offense is yours. Do what you want with it. We're going to live and die by you. No, they're bringing in a guy who actually knows what the hell he's doing. And now listen. I don't think that Joe Lombardi is, some sort of absolute genius who's going to get the Ravens over the hump, so to say, because he's kind of bounced around the league a little bit. He hasn't really been the best calling plays, but that's not what he's going to be tasked to do here. Again, he's only going to be tasked to provide perspective. And that's what I love about this. Let me see the chat here. Void says, need quick messages, no miscommunications. Exactly. Black Daniels says, gang, what's going on, Black Daniels? Vico with the like on the video. Appreciate that. Make sure y'all like the video, y'all. Subscribe to the channel as well. Balance, no Harbs overseeing it all. Yes, no more CEO coaches. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a role and responsibility that pertains to the game on the field. I love it. I love it. Asmodeus in the house, another one of our members. Shout out to you, Asmodeus. Says you're 100% allowed to be critical and excited about Declan. Yeah, I think it's fine to feel both ways on that one, right? Let me see. Asmodeus says with Minter and Weaver, one of the two can sit in the box. Same with Lombardi and Doyle. You're getting my point here. You're getting my point. They're building the perfect coaching staff. The perfect coaching staff. I mean, I'm giving the Ravens coaching staff so far, I'm gonna give them an A minus. The only minus is because I still don't know exactly what Declan Doyle is gonna bring, but it does excite me from the things that I've heard, around town. I just told you guys, Declan Doyle and Cole Kmet just told you guys, Declan Doyle is a huge part of second half adjustments, or he was at least for the Bears. That excites me. That excites me. Let me see. Don't forget to join the Rain Gang, like the video, and subscribe. Every new sub equals a live emote on stream. You guys know how it goes. Lisa says, how will Lombardi and Declan Doyle help Lamar? That's a good question, Lisa. I think that number one, I think the play designing, right, and the understanding of his player strengths and the defense's weaknesses, that Declan Doyle, he excels at that. You add that, you pair it up with Joe Lombardi, who is known. He's known to be able to develop quarterbacks. It's just what he does. Kind of like his claim to fame, really, right? So we talk about getting Lamar Jackson to that next level. So you pair a guy who's historically known to develop quarterbacks, you pair him up with a young guy who's the same age as Lamar, who's going to be able to openly collaborate with Lamar and hopefully even relate to him. And oh yeah, he's an offensive genius, by the way, too. Those two things can take Lamar Jackson to the next level. We talked about how when Lamar went from Greg Roman's offense to Todd Monken's offense, we saw a night and day difference. Lamar Jackson elevated to another stratosphere, to the tune of another MVP, a second MVP. Should have been a third after that. And I think that a move like this, bringing in these two guys, Declan Doyle and Joe Lombardi, can take Lamar Jackson to that next level. Because you're going to get innovation and experience in developing quarterbacks. And a fresh new message for Lamar. So that's how I think that these guys will help Lamar. Good question, Lisa. Let me see. We got Jordan Monto in the chat. Jordan says, yo, Sutton, just got my first apartment with my girlfriend. God is definitely good. So happy with his coaching staff as well, man. Hashtag Flock Nation. Shout out to you, Jordan. Real quick, round of applause for Jordan, man. Clap it up for Jordan in the chat. That is awesome. That is awesome. That is amazing. I'm very, very happy for you, man. I know exactly how that feels. It's a great feeling. It's a wonderful feeling, man. You and your lady enjoy that. Enjoy that. Enjoy each other's company. It's an amazing feeling. Congratulations to you, man. Congratulations, man. Salute. Let me see. Black Daniel says a veteran presence for a young OC who has already been on the same staff in previous assignments. They game plan and scheme and hold one another accountable. Collaboration is not a bad thing. Love it. Love it. Slicer, what's going on, Slicer? Says, what's up, Sutton and the Ravens flock? Nothing much, man. Just enjoying this Tuesday evening. Asmodeus, chiming off in the chat, says, what I love about the coaching staff is not only the personnel, but the dynamic and specialization in mitigating risk with potential blind spots by bringing in dynamic styles as well. Yes. I mean, you're getting guys who literally, I mean, this is just dynamic as we're talking about. I mean, Joe Lombardi, I just talked about it. Joe Lombardi and Declan Doyle, two different sides of the same coin, if that makes sense, right? Again, older, more experienced guy, younger, more innovative with a higher upside. The dynamism that you're going to get with those two coaches, I think speaks volumes. Speaks volumes. Let me see. Nailed it. Yeah, nailed it. I love that. And we're making sure that all bases are covered here. All bases are being covered with these hires. That's what I love. That's what Jesse Minter is truly doing with this Ravens coaching staff. And the more hires that we see, you're getting to see that. He's covering all the bases. I mean, we can talk about we talked about I think Black Daniels brought it up, Minter and Weaver, right? Minter, young, defensive genius, head coach, going to be calling the plays. But what does he do to get his defensive coordinator? We all thought the defensive coordinator was going to come in and be a young guy, maybe a 29-year-old, 30-year-old guy, developmental guy who could potentially be next up. But no, it's Anthony Weaver, former defensive coordinator, has called plays before, a hell of a motivator. I mean, you talk about scary, how scary on both sides of the football the Ravens are going to be next season, just off the leadership alone. We haven't even gotten to the players yet. Of course, the Ravens have all the pieces. That's what makes this all the more sweet, right? The Ravens have all the pieces personnel-wise. This is not even including the big ticket items that Eric DeCosta is saying he's going to go out and get in free agency, or this is not including our 11 draft picks, which I'm still not excited about, guys, but it's not including any of that. So I'm excited as hell. I'm excited as hell. We really got the Avengers now, says Jordan. Jordan says, man, can't wait to watch this new era in my new era for real. Much love to everyone in the chat, and thank you, PRP. So pumped for next year. We really got the Avengers now. I love that. I love that. We do. We do. You cooking. It's really not the X's and O's, but it's also emotionally and socially intelligent, right? We're covering all bases. Covering all bases. Asmodeus is cooking tonight, y'all. He's cooking. Okay. Let's move along. Black Daniel says, hit that like button. Absolutely. Always hit that like button. It helps us out a ton here at PRP as we are quickly approaching 6,000 subscribers. We just hit 5,000 like a month ago, and you guys have been going crazy. We appreciate all of the support. It truly does not go unnoticed. Every like, every subscription, every super chat donation, every membership. By the way, memberships, all members, you guys know that jersey giveaway is on Thursday. You are automatically in the running to get one if you are a member here on our channel. But none of the support goes unnoticed, guys. We truly do appreciate it. We love you guys for it as well. And by the way, again, guys, today is Simply Is 10's birthday. If you follow him on Instagram or Twitter or wherever, go make sure you wish him a happy birthday. Go make sure you wish him a happy birthday. Let's move on, though. So the Ravens did not just stop there today in hiring more coaches. The Ravens also hired a running back coach. You guys know the Ravens lost their running back coach, Willie Taggart, to John Harbaugh. He is now part of that Giants coaching staff over there. So the Ravens were in the market for a new running back coach. And the Ravens went out and what did they do? They poached a Steelers running back coach. Let's go ahead and see what this says here about Eddie Faulkner. The Ravens will reportedly pry a Steeler out of Pittsburgh as they are expected to hire running backs coach Eddie Faulkner. Faulkner spent the past 7 seasons coaching the Steelers tailbacks, who have been a major part of their offensive blueprint in recent years. Ain't that the truth, man? They are some running somebodies. I'll tell you that much. Running back Kenneth Gainwell was voted the Steelers' 2025 most valuable player by his teammates last season after posting 1,023 offensive yards, including 486 receiving yards that were tied for second most on the team. Faulkner also helped groom undrafted Jalen Warren into becoming the Steelers' lead rusher. Warren had his strongest season yet in 2025 with 958 rushing yards and 8 total touchdowns. Faulkner, who is 48 years old, served as the Steelers' interim offensive coordinator in 2023 after Matt Canada was fired midway through the season. Let's just stop there. Number one. And Chris, what up? What up, Chris? Another one of our members in the chat. Salute to you. Shout out to you. Thank you for coming through. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better. But we're talking about a coach, right? Asmodeus with the super chat donation. Appreciate that, Asmodeus. 5-piece in the chat. And Ashley as well. What's up, Ashley? Another member in the house. Says, good evening, lovely people. Good evening. Good evening. But Asmodeus says here, before I get back to my point, says, my biggest curiosity is what EDC will do. Jesse is cooking. EDC has been quiet. He needs to pull his weight too, or his ass is out of here. EDC has been quiet. Now, we got to say this. EDC did hire Jesse Minter. That was per Steve Bisciotti. EDC hired Jesse Minter. Steve Bisciotti just put the stamp of approval on it. Right? So we got to thank EDC for that. But he still does have his work cut out for him. I totally agree. This free agency, you have to make a splash or two. This draft, you got to take some risks. You got to package some picks together, maybe throw in a player. I don't know. Rashad Bateman's been a name that's floated out there. Maybe put together a big splash trade. Something has got to happen. You can't just go with a run-of-the-mill garden variety draft where you get 3 DBs and, 2 offensive linemen and you get a receiver. It's gotta be very, very intentional, this draft. And I think it starts with the trenches. But even before that, let's not even talk about the draft yet, guys, because free agency, I hate when we talk about the draft so early because free agency has so much effect on how the Ravens approach the draft and their strategy for the draft, right? We have to address needs first in free agency. Once we do that, that will tell us that'll give us a better picture of what needs to happen for the draft. But that is all on EDC's plate. You're absolutely right about that, Asmodeus. That is all falling on EDC. Again, he's got his work cut out for him. We'll see how he performs this off season. We will see. But thank you so much for your super chat donation, brother. As always, let me see. So back to Eddie Faulkner here. Back to Eddie Faulkner. Again, former Steelers running back coach who was coaching up the likes of Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, and Kenneth Gainwell. Now, no disrespect to any of those guys, right? No disrespect to any of those guys. However, when you inherit a running game that has Derrick Henry, and not only Derrick Henry, but Lamar Jackson and the sheer threat of Lamar Jackson running the football, knowing what the Ravens love to do with these read option plays and things like that, can you imagine how much fun this guy, Eddie Faulkner, is going to have coaching up Derrick Henry and how productive he's going to make a Derrick Henry? If he can make a Jalen Warren, who before this year or before the year before last, nobody knew who this kid was. If he can coach up Kenneth Gainwell to the tune of being voted most valuable player on the Steelers, then imagine what he does with a future Hall of Famer at running back, who has all the tools in the toolbox. Derrick Henry, that is, he's got the power, he's got the vision, especially if Dwayne Ledford can get that offensive line right? Which I think Eddie Faulkner and Dwayne Ledford, hand in hand. They're going to work hand in hand to get Derrick Henry some open rushing lanes, Keaton Mitchell some open rushing lanes. Well, I haven't even gotten him yet. I can only imagine. But Derrick Henry, he's got the speed, he's got the vision, he's got the power, right? You throw all those things into one back, it makes it a hell of a lot easier on a running backs coach to coach that guy up. Because anything you need him to do, he can do it. He's got the tools to do so. So I think that the Ravens hiring Eddie Faulkner actually makes Eddie Faulkner's job easier than it was with the Steelers. A lot easier. Not to mention Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell, a guy who, he can basically take that place of what Kenneth Gainwell was doing. I want to see Keaton Mitchell catching the ball out of the backfield a lot more this upcoming season. And I think that with Declan Doyle as offensive coordinator, Dwayne Ledford as run game coordinator, and then also offensive line coach, and then Eddie Faulkner at running back coach, all three of those guys together are going to find a way to get Keaton Mitchell involved. Way more than John Harbaugh and Todd Monken could ever do. I'm excited as hell about it. Let's keep reading, though. This is a tweet from Mike DeFabo. I believe this is a Steelers beat writer, I assume. It says Eddie Faulkner was one of the most well-respected position coaches on the Steelers staff last year. There was a reason they made him interim offensive coordinator a couple of years ago after Canada's firing. Guys listened to him and wanted to play for him. So again, this goes back to Asmodeus' point from earlier, right? It's not just the X's and O's, right? It's the social and emotional connection. You got to have football players ready to run through a wall for you. If not, what's the point? Every team has X's and O's. Right? Every team has guys who get paid millions of dollars to play this game. Where is your edge as a coach? Where do you provide edge for your players? That's my question, right? And I think that Eddie Faulkner, with the relatability and how guys really kind of flock to him and want to play for him, that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge, especially for a team in the Ravens who, of course, pride themselves on running the football. Love it. Again, the tandem of him, Eddie Faulkner, Dwayne Ledford, and Declan Doyle, and then Joe Lombardi. This Ravens offense could be very, very scary, y'all. And don't you dare go out, and I dare us to go out and get a solid wide receiver, bona fide wide receiver one. You guys know how much I talk about that in whatever capacity. Maybe it comes in the draft. Maybe we steal a guy in the draft. I can only imagine how potent this Ravens offense will be. Let's keep reading here. Willie Taggart, who I mentioned before, who coached the Ravens running backs for the past 3 seasons, followed John Harbaugh to New York. New Steelers head coach Mike McCarthy brought along one of his former assistants from Dallas, Ramon Chinyong. That's an interesting name. To be the Steelers' new running backs coach. That left Faulkner, who also briefly played for the Steelers as an undrafted running back in 2001, looking for a new home. And he has reportedly landed with an AFC North rival and one of the best running backs in the NFL. Yes, so we talked about. Derrick Henry finished last season with the second most rushing yards at 1,595. Behind that offensive line is still crazy to me in the league. The Ravens led the league with 5.3 yards per carry and will look to build upon that strong running game under first-year offensive coordinator Declan Doyle. So if the Ravens were averaging 5.3 yards a carry, running behind the likes of Andrew Voorhees, the likes of Daniel Fa'alele, right? The inconsistencies just overall of the offensive line. I can only imagine what he's going to do this year, Derrick Henry, that is. And this Ravens rushing attack in general, I can only imagine what they're going to muster up with one of the top offensive line coaches, with a well-respected running backs coach who has guys wanting to run through a wall for him, an offensive genius, a young offensive genius in Declan Doyle, and a senior craftsman offensive coach in Joe Lombardi, who's going to be overseeing the whole thing. Can only imagine. The Ravens might average 6.5 yards a carry next season. Might not even need Lamar Jackson. You might be able to put me at quarterback next year. And I'm just going to hand the ball to Derrick Henry. I bet you I could do it. But I missed something, though. I'm going to highlight what I missed, too. Right here. Faulkner, again, who was 48 years old, served as the Steelers' interim offensive coordinator in 2023 after Matt Canada was fired midway through the season. So this guy has experience calling the damn plays as well. So think about it. I was so concerned about Declan Doyle, 29-year-old offensive coordinator for the Ravens now, coming in, never having experience calling plays. But lo and behold, the hires that have been made thus far, you have, not Dwayne Leffert, Eddie Faulkner and Joe Lombardi, who have both called plays before in some capacity or another. So that collaboration, just kind of like that knowledge being in the building, being in the castle, is going to accelerate, I believe, Declan Doyle into being the offensive coordinator that the Ravens need. And it makes me even more concerned about how long Declan Doyle might actually stick around. Because if Declan Doyle sticks around in this system with these coaches, in the next 2 years, this Ravens offense could be out of here. I'm talking averaging 33 a game. And I'm not even lying. Not even being hyperbolic at all. Right? So just so much experience, right? There's so much experience in the castle now. So much personality in a positive way in the castle now. I love it. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat here. Void dropping my stat line says Sutton 1 for 3 passing, 13 yards. Okay, I completed 1 pass for 13 yards. Hey, I'm not mad at that. I'm not at the NFL level, but Derrick Henry, yes sir, 26 carries, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's what I'm talking about. Jordan says, can we hire Ray Lewis as a mandatory pregame speech hype man? I think if we got them wanting to run through people before the game, we might got that mean defense back we used to have. Yeah, sometimes I come across Ray Lewis videos on the internet where I'm just like, it baffles me why, like, how the Ravens have not contacted this guy. And maybe they have, and he just says no, and he just doesn't want to do it. But like, if I'm Steve Bisciotti, I'm paying Ray Lewis a bag just to be in and around the locker room every single game day. How much you want, Ray Lewis? I will open up the checkbook. Did you guys see that video of Ray Lewis at the Super Bowl? It's the 13-year anniversary today of the Ravens winning their second Super Bowl. Love that, right? But you guys remember that Super Bowl when right before Jacoby Jones took the kickoff return coming out of the half? There was a video that I never knew about where Ray Lewis literally goes up and he just touches Jacoby Jones before he goes out there for that kick return. And I'm thinking, like, why is he touching him? Like, why would he do that? And Ray Lewis said, God told Ray Lewis to touch Jacoby Jones before that play. And lo and behold, on that play, Jacoby Jones takes it 109 yards for a touchdown. That type of just, and again, that's God, right? But that energy to me is like, and then you see like, his pregame speeches that he had back in the day. You can see his motivational speeches he does, around the world and stuff like that. This guy, I mean, it would not hurt at all to have these guys ready to go, due to his pregame speeches and him hyping guys up on the sideline and whatnot and rallying the troops. I mean, if I'm Steve Bisciotti, I'm opening the checkbook and saying, what does it take? I mean, Steve Bisciotti was getting ready to offer John Harbaugh $17 million this year to sit at home and do nothing. You're telling me Ray Lewis wouldn't take $17 million or hell, even $5 million just to be on the sidelines on game days? What is it going to take? I don't know if there's a rift in the relationship between the Ravens and Ray Lewis or whatever. Maybe they're weary about something that's past. I don't know. But to me, I would love to have him back. Would love to have him back. Let me see. World Class says, so this ain't giving Zach Orr to y'all? Why get all these veteran coaches and let the teenager be the offensive coordinator? And see, I would agree with this from the standpoint, World Class. I would agree with this. And shout out to you, World Class. That's my guy. I would agree with this from the standpoint of Declan Doyle just being a rental. If he is here for 1 year and the Ravens turn up average 30 a game and he's gone, then it's like, what's the point? What was the point? But if he does stay, again, I think a fish rots from the head down. And the biggest reason why you saw Zach Orr in that experiment, that whole experiment crash and burn, I think is much more of an indictment on John Harbaugh than it was on Zach Orr. Because John Harbaugh was the head coach, and he was allowing that to happen every single week. Back-to-back years, starting off the first 7 weeks as the bottom 3 defense in the league. John Harbaugh allowed that, right? Jesse Minter, from what we've seen so far and how he's constructing this coaching staff, is very strategic and very, very intentional. If you really, really pay attention to what he's doing right now, it's very strategic and very intentional. And that's what I love the most about it. Because, yes, you got Declan Doyle, young offensive coordinator. And again, I was skeptical of it, World Class. I was skeptical of it. But the fact that he followed up those hirings with, okay, I know we got the 29-year-old as offensive coordinator. He's a young, bright mind, but we got to empower him. We have to kind of reel him in with some wisdom. Let's go get Joe Lombardi, who's had some rough times here and there, coaching up offenses and calling plays. We're not going to ask him to call plays. Just sit up in that booth and be the eye in the sky, be the wise guy in the sky, right? That's all we're asking you to do. And then also you bring in an Eddie Faulkner, right? Who those running backs are going to want to run through a wall for. You brought in a Dwayne Ledford, who's a top 3 offensive line coach and run game coordinator in the league. Everything is set up for this guy, Declan Doyle, to succeed. He's basically a trust fund offensive coordinator. Declan Doyle is. He's got all the tools. He's got the Lamar Jackson. He's got the quarterback. He's got the running back, right? He's got the tight ends, and he's got the coaches around him to ensure that he succeeds, to ensure that he does not crash and burn. Zach Orr, I feel like, was just dangled out there, left to dry by John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh says, sorry, can't help you. I'm a special teams guy. So, Zach, you gotta handle that, big dog. We could bring in a Chuck Pagano, and maybe that'll help you out, but obviously it didn't. But I think Declan Doyle, I think he's a trust fund offensive coordinator who has all the tools in the toolbox, all the pieces around him to really help him succeed. But I get your point, World Class. I do. Chat's moving. Chat is moving. Ashley says he anointed him. He did. Ray Lewis did on that play. That was insane. Doyle's job isn't hard. World Class, you crazy, man. You crazy, brother. You crazy. I see what you're doing in the chat, big dog. Let me see. Slicer says it's overkill and unnecessary to have Lewis fire you up. I disagree with that, big dog. I do. Have you ever seen Ray Lewis hype somebody up? Have you ever listened to a motivational speech from Ray Lewis? because it goes crazy. I mean, I would be ready to go out there and go head up with Lawrence Taylor. I would. I die, but you get my point. You get my point. Let me see what we got here. All right. I think I got through that article. Yeah, that one was done. So yeah, guys, I'll say this as I wrap up this episode, guys. I really just think that Jesse Minter is doing everything necessary. He's doing all the right things. There we go. But yeah, I'm gonna go take care of him. I appreciate y'all for coming through as always. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Again, be positive about this whole Jesse Minter thing. I think it's all gonna work out. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.